I'm interested in what happens, what I can see in front of me. And when you see people eating this way and they all go through the same patterns, blood pressure normalizes, A1C goes down below pre-diabetic levels, they reduce weight, their brain fog clears up, all these problems go away. And when the doctor is looking at their blood tests, all they can really pick on now is cholesterol. And this is where the studies are also annoying, because it's like, well, the studies say high cholesterol is bad. Yeah, but hang on. Let's look at this group of people all eating the same way, all having the same result, all having more energy, all feeling younger, without all these problems. Gout's gone away, arthritis has gone away, everything's gone away, but their cholesterol's high. Is it actually that our cholesterol should naturally be a bit higher? And also their triglycerides improved because their triglycerides went down. So perhaps we should be paying less attention to the studies altogether, you know?
Okay, Dave, thank you so much for the time for this interview. How are you doing?
Very good, Roberto. Thanks for having me on.
Great to see you again. As I was telling you the last time on your channel, it was very, very pleasant to talk to you. So I'm very, very happy to have you here. I just saw that you passed the milestone of 1,500 interviews. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Actually, bit of a surprise. I've had quite a few recently, so I'm almost at 1,600.
Wow, 1,600. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to update myself. That is unbelievable. I mean, first of all, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, if you can, about your story. What motivated you to start the channel, and why did you decide to interview people instead of making other types of content?
Sure. So, look, it really starts from my carnivore journey. And I had a couple of problems that I wanted to address. I was an alcoholic and I was pre-diabetic. So I started doing keto and I was out of options. I didn't know what to do. So I started doing keto because I'd done it in the past, and I knew that if I did keto, I would get more self-control. And so I thought, okay, I want to give up alcohol, I want to give up sugar, I want to give up breads and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to try and do keto. And so my journey to carnivore is actually just falling into carnivore from keto. So I was doing keto to reverse my pre-diabetes and also to deal with this alcohol problem. And now that I was doing keto, I was adding a small amount of non-starchy veggies into every meal, you know? So I would have some chicken and some greens, or I would have some eggs and some bell peppers, that kind of thing. And I discovered something. I discovered that plants were indeed trying to kill me. And these assassination attempts would happen after every meal. So after every meal, I'd find myself in the bathroom very soon after the meal. It was very uncomfortable. And I was searching around on the internet trying to find solutions. What's wrong? Is this because I've added meat? What is the thing? I came across a Ken Berry video. It was a video that was almost like he was saying, I was wrong. You don't need vegetables. He was talking about how some veggies are particular irritants in your stomach. He singled out some things that I was eating. He was talking about nightshades. So I thought, okay, maybe that's what's causing my problem. And so I thought, well, I'm not married to the veggies. I'm not eating them because I want to eat them. I'm eating them because I think I have to. So I'm just going to cut the veggies out and see how I go. And so I did that, and keto became carnivore, and I've been carnivore ever since. And that's been 3.5 years. The channel came about because I was about 4 months into carnivore, and I'd had so many improvements, and I just thought to myself, I've got to start talking about this, you know, because everyone's got joint pain, everyone's getting diabetes, everyone's getting all these problems, and they don't need to be getting them. The reason they're getting them is because they're eating the wrong thing. And I wanted to talk about it, and so that's how the channel came about. I thought maybe 2 or 3 people would watch my videos and that would be it. But the first few videos took off, and I was getting comments on those videos saying, that happened to me too. Yeah, that when I went carnivore, that happened to me too. And because I was getting so much positive feedback and realized there was so many carnivores out there already, I decided to just keep going.
So with all these people that you have interviewed, I wanted to ask you what you've heard most people say about their journey, why they were suffering, what was wrong in their life, and how they turned things around, what surprised you, what did you learn from their experiences, and if there was some pattern in common with all of them, or if there were some things that were unique in some experiences.
I think at the start, I was just doing the interviews for a networking kind of thing because in Japan, I'm very isolated. So I just wanted to kind of network with carnivores around the world. I didn't really start at doing it seriously, like I want to get people's stories out there.
How many interviews did you do before you started to realize it was kind of serious because there were a lot of people?
I'd done maybe about 20, 30 interviews, and I was like, oh, okay. The more interviews I did, the more people were sending me emails saying, I want to tell my story. And because that was happening, that's when I just started to ramp it up, because I thought, okay, well, I'm enjoying talking to people. But then the more I did it, 30, 40, 50 interviews in, I'm feeling like, okay, well, everyone kind of moves in a similar direction. So if you've got type 2 diabetes, the likelihood is you're going to reverse it, or you're going to go some way towards reversing it. And the funny thing is, these are not unusual results. People will come in with an A1C of 13, an A1C of 9, and within 6 to 8 months, they're not even pre-diabetic anymore. It's below 5.8. It's crazy. I think this is important to emphasize because all the American Diabetes Association and Diabetes UK and all these organizations, they treat diabetes as a disease that cannot be reversed. You can't do anything about it. You just got to live with it. Take the medicine and come back when you need to amputate your limbs. And it's important to note that it's so easy to put type 2 diabetes into remission, if you want to call it that, just by zeroing out the carbs. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that I notice is type 2 diabetes. But then, of course, you get the more common things people talk about, like energy, brain fog, better sleep, just clearer thinking, clearer decision making, the ability to go to work and not get emotional about things. That's one of the things that happened to me too. Like, not get emotional about work and just make more kind of objective decisions about things. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that bleeds into relationships as well. They're able to kind of be less emotional, like if they're about to get into an argument with their husband or wife or something like that, But on top of that, joint pain, arthritis is a big one. I've had people on who have been able to cancel their knee replacement surgery, things like that. That's one of the things that happened for me. I was walking around like a cripple before because of the arthritis I had in my left knee, and now it's just gone. One of the most surprising things for me, or two of the most surprising things for me. First one is people can improve their vision and get their vision back. I've got interviews with people who were legally blind that can now see. And that includes like reversing conditions like glaucoma and cataracts and things like that. And the other thing that surprised me is the ability for people who have MS to be able to put MS into remission. I've got about 22 or 23 interviews in my MS playlist with people who had debilitating MS and went carnivore, and there's no lesion activity anymore. So it's been a bit of a journey discovering that, a lot of the things that we just assume are the diseases of aging are actually within our control to potentially reverse. I've had some people that have improved like the level of heart disease they have as well. But, that one is not as common an occurrence as the others.
Yeah. Regarding diabetes, you said you've seen many type 2s. Have you ever seen type 1s? And how do they improve? They have to, of course, maybe keep taking insulin, but I guess their situation got much better as well.
Yeah. So I have done interviews with quite a few type 1s, and two of them stand out in my mind, one lady from the US and one man from New Zealand. While you're never going to be able to stop taking insulin, they are not having to take as much insulin, and it's much more manageable and things are much more predictable. The gentleman that I interviewed from New Zealand, he has kept spreadsheets of all the stats, monitoring everything throughout the day. It's quite surprising to see the level he can keep everything at when he's doing carnivore. So the need for insulin doesn't go away, but it becomes much more manageable and predictable.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen, this must be very surprising for some people, type 1s that don't need insulin anymore. They start producing insulin again. Very, very rarely it happens. Maybe they were not as severe as others, these cases. And, one of the things that surprised me the most, a couple of years ago, I discovered that a carnivore diet in the past, it was used by doctors to reverse diabetes. So there was an Italian doctor whose name was Arnaldo Cantani. He was from my city, Naples. He used to work there. He was a professor in the university, and he was very, very famous in Italy and in Europe. He used to treat diabetes with a very strict carnivore diet. So he used to tell patients to only consume meat and fat, sometimes fish, but nothing more than that. He had also a way to prevent, the problems that you experience at the beginning when you started the diarrhea, for example. He used lactic acid with meat and water, and he saw that patients didn't have diarrhea anymore. They didn't have digestive problems anymore. I have been able to suggest, to advise the people to do the same thing. There were some other substances that he used, like acetic acid, citric acid. They were helpful in these cases. And he was very, very strict with his experimentation, because he also told people to fast, for example, when they had been diabetic for a very long time. And he also used to lock people in their rooms in order to avoid that they cheat on their diet. So in the past, many things were done already. We think normally that we don't have studies, which might be true. We don't have rigorous studies, but some things were done in the past because they didn't have the ethical problems that we have now. If you had a patient and you wanted to make sure that they adhered to the diet, you could do it. You could lock your patients. Nobody said anything. So he had these patients that they used to cheat all the time. They measured the sugar in the urine, and they saw that the sugar kept appearing. So they understood, he and his collaborators, that the patient was cheating on the diet. So they locked them in their rooms, and they only gave them the sufficient amount of meat, water, and fish and animal fats, and all the sugar from the urine disappeared in a very short time. There were many other doctors, starting from the late 1700s. Dr. John Rollo is famous. Dr. Sean Baker has mentioned it very many times. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And Dr. Cantani didn't know about type 1 or type 2. They saw people get in remission every single time when the disease was not severe enough to make permanent changes.
I think the problem now is that kind of information is conveniently forgotten, because solving someone's diabetes like that doesn't make anyone any money. One of the most insidious kind of things, I think, that a lot of the mainstream medical doctors do, especially the plant-based ones, is they blame fat for type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And they get away with it, right? I mean, you can say fat is the cause of diabetes, right? So they talk about the Randall cycle, and they say, if you're eating lots of fat, then the cells are going to take up the fat. So there's nowhere for the insulin to go. And it's like, yeah.
But only if you consume carbs.
So, right. So the solution is not to cut the fat and raise the insulin levels. The solution is get rid of the thing that's causing your body to produce insulin, and then the fat can get into the cell and everyone's happy and your blood sugar's normal all the time, and but that's not how they frame it. It's like pouring sand into your car and going, it's not working. this car's crap, I'm taking it back. And it's like, well, you're not meant to put sand into it. That's why it's not working. Put gas into it. Don't put sand, but they've twisted it because it fits their narrative.
Yeah, but it should be intuitive because, fat is essential, like protein, but carbohydrates are not.
Right.
So people should understand that you can consume carbs just like other things, but if you keep it in small amounts, if you're healthy, it's not going to be a problem. But if you up the dose and you do it every day, it's going to be a problem in the long term. I mean, nobody can stand hundreds and hundreds of grams of carbohydrates for all their life.
Right.
We have talked about diseases. We've seen people get diseases in remission and other things that also surprise me to see multiple sclerosis, which you mentioned, into remission. So people have no lesions anymore. Also because they are neurodegenerative diseases. So most doctors think that once you get that diagnosis, you're going to get worse. Always. I mean,
there's no turning back kind of
no
thing.
turning back. But I've seen people starting a carnivore diet and slowly they progress almost every time. I mean,
I've seen people improve Parkinson's, dementia.
Yeah. But with the diseases that we've mentioned, you also see other improvements. I mean, in every aspect of your life. So you sleep better. You mentioned not getting emotional anymore. I noticed this as well. I was very, very emotional in the past. Now people tell me all the time that I'm very reasonable. I'm very objective in my thoughts, in my judgment of reality. I do not get upset easily. You really need to push me to get me upset. And I'm always smiling. I'm taking life easier. No brain fog, no slow of energy. You got so much energy. I interviewed, actually, I have to publish the video today. I know you know him, Lee Kopos, Kent Carnivore. Yeah. Great guy. He also said the same thing. He said, I have so much energy now. I don't know what to do about it. I have to work. Right. I have to do everything I can because I have all this energy I didn't have in the past. I think this is very common.
They say about testosterone, like testosterone makes work feel good, right? And I feel like carnivore has the same kind of effect. You feel this energy and you want to go and do things, right? I never really wanted to move before, but like I want to get up, I want to move, I want to go for a walk, I want to do things now that I would never have had the energy for before.
One of the ways we can implement this energy is to help others, to give this information, to not stop, to be combative. I think when we discover this way of eating and we see how we feel, we want to make sure that people get the same benefits. So we give this information out, and even people that don't see the reason now to quit their addictions, maybe in the future when they will have some problems, they will remember these crazy guys on YouTube that told them, try a carnivore diet, for a month, 3 months, and you will see things improve. What's to lose? I mean, when you have lost your health, best thing you can do is to try.
Right. That's the thing. I hear a lot when people talk to me about finding carnivore, and it's often, I've tried everything else. I was literally at rock bottom. I had nowhere else to go. This was my last option. And that's how they got in there. It's like everything's working properly. And I think most people get this feeling. It's almost like I didn't realize this is how I was meant to feel. And you kind of go through a little period of, I wish I'd found this earlier, because think of all those years I've wasted feeling so bad. You get over that pretty quickly because you think, well, I'm just going to live. I feel 20 years younger anyway. I'm just going to live my life. But, there is this moment where you go, oh, look at all that time I've wasted.
Yeah. And I really feel it for the people that got some permanent damage from the diseases that they had in the past. Same thing with Lee. I feel very empathetic with him and many other people, of course. He also told me I wished I found carnivore before to avoid going into surgery. But, life happens. I mean, better late than never. So I think this is a gift that we have received this information. So we better put put this gift into practice, into work for something useful that can help others other than ourselves. The very reason why I wanted to interview you is that, you've done 1600 interviews. I get comments from people since I've started the carnivore diet 5 years ago telling me all the time, maybe this diet only works for you because you are strange. Maybe it's just a few strange people. Most people don't have to do that, and we are all different, Maybe I can follow a vegan diet and not have problems. You can be carnivore, but no. Human beings are mostly carnivore. So when you start doing things correctly, of course you're gonna get better. Of course, but you gotta put in the work. Obviously.
Yeah. When people say that to me now, it just works for you, or it just works for, some people. It's not going to work for everyone. I try and take them to look at the animal kingdom, right? And I say, do you ever see an elephant with type 2 diabetes? Do you ever see a lion with type 2 diabetes? Do you ever see a goldfish with type 2 diabetes? No, because they're eating a species appropriate diet. Do you see humans with type 2 diabetes? Yes. Do you see dogs with type 2 diabetes?
Unfortunately, today, yes.
Why? Because dogs and humans treat food exactly the same way, and they eat whatever's in front of them, even if they're not hungry, and they will also eat stuff that is not appropriate to their species, because that is how they're programmed, because they're programmed to just eat stuff when there's a famine and they can't get their normal diet. And so the only animals that get type 2 diabetes are dogs, maybe cats. And it's because they're eating the same crap as us. So it's a pretty good sign that if we take the crap out of our diet, the same as if we do it with our pets, then we're going to thrive. And that's a good indication that we're eating in the right way. And that seems to be a carnivore way of eating.
I got many things to say about that. I think dogs and humans have many things in common. It is believed that humans also started being carnivore as scavengers. So we started to extract the marrow from the bones and to eat the meat that was left on the soil from other predators. In fact, we have a very low stomach pH, even lower than dogs. And dogs are scavengers. So we have, just like you said, the same attitude towards food, because our bodies think that we are in a famine. So we need to get food. Getting food is better than not getting anything. So if you give dogs carbohydrates, if you give them pizza, biscuits in absence of meat, they will eat it because they are programmed to get as much food as they can, because otherwise they starve. This is the reason I think dogs eat more than cats. Cats, they are still hunters. Most cats, even if they are at homes, they need to get out. They need to hunt their prey solitarily, so they hunt alone. They still, at the very least, even though they get kibble, so things that are not really food, so toxic foods for them, but they still go outside to hunt, so they get their prey, the whole animal, birds, mice. So they are generally healthier, but there are some disadvantages, because cats need to be very, very strict carnivores. I don't know if you know this. Cats, they cannot produce taurine, and also they cannot use glucose as a source of energy. If you give them very little carbs, they feel sick very, very soon. Otherwise, other than dogs, which can tolerate more, just like us. The difference between us and dogs is that dogs don't need much fat. They need very little, otherwise they get stomach problems almost instantly.
Right.
Because we have bigger brains. Dogs are carnivore, but they have not developed our brains. And they have lived with us for 25,000 years. So they have had our food for quite a long time now. This might be the reasons why dogs are more adaptive with food, just like us, and cats aren't. But we're all still carnivore.
Yeah. It's interesting because this kind of thing you never think about this until you've experienced carnivore, and then all the kind of the pieces fall into place, you know? But before, there's so much advertising, there's so much marketing, there's so much education about eating a balanced diet and all this kind of thing that we never question anything, you know? And it's only when you get to the point that you're so sick, you'll take any solution that you start to, you know, question these things. I think the other thing is, you know, over the years, they've got us to believe that, you know, we should eat a balanced diet and everything in moderation. And when I hear people say that, whether it's a doctor or a dietitian or a nutritionist, really irritates me because it doesn't mean anything. Just eat a balanced diet. How? Like, I can't eat one of everything. So what's balance? Give me a definition of balance, you know? Everything in moderation. Really. If you take it literally, that doesn't work. So it's just a something to say by an expert that is meaningless and provides no value to anybody.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, of course. People take for granted that we have to eat everything, so they don't question it. I'm surprised, even for dogs. People think it is normal to give dogs kibble, not meat. Even when I see videos on YouTube, for example, I see these dog owners that, maybe, I mean, they give meat to dogs, of course, but they also give them vegetables. They try all the time to give them things that dogs shouldn't eat. And I mean, naturally, they would not go towards that. But they give them more things because they think the more things they add, the better the diet will be because it is more balanced. There are many other things more, but if you give a dog a steak or even ground meat, ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever you want, and maybe some organs, some little bones, it is fine. The dog doesn't need anything else. I can give you a definition of a balanced diet because William Stefansson gave it in the 50s. He said we need meat and fat in the right proportion. So when you have meat and fat in the right proportion, you are free of disease, you are healthy, and you don't need anything else. There is all the nutrients you need in that food. You know about Stefansson, right?
No, I
really?
never heard of him.
Wow, I would be very glad to tell you about it. He was a Canadian explorer. He was with the Inuit people for a total of 11 years. So he was in the Arctic, he was in Canada and in the United States, and he saw that they only ate meat for 6 months a year and then fish for 6 months a year. They used reindeer fat, blubber, which is whale fat, and nothing else. Maybe they could eat berries in the summer, seaweed in the summer, but nothing else. I have talked about Stefansson on my channel many times, also because I am passionate about this, about the history of the carnivore diet. You've seen, I've told you about Dr. Cantani, Dr. John Rollo. I know quite a lot about the history, and I was very happy because other misconceptions that people have, misbeliefs, is that if you only eat meat, you're gonna get scurvy. Okay, so this is very, very ingrained in our minds. We really, really believe that because that's what we have always been told, but it is completely false. William Stefansson, he saw that when people got scurvy, it was because they were eating other things. Many times they were not consuming meat. But a meat-only diet was used in the past to treat and cure scurvy by the Inuits. So he learned it from them and started doing the same things. So when he made expeditions with his colleagues, he instructed them to eat to avoid scurvy. But of course, not everybody adhered to the diet. So they always had other things because governments used to give foods to the explorers. So they were bringing oranges, lemons, because even though they didn't know vitamin C, they knew that these foods had antiscorbutic properties. In the past, doctors knew that. And so they were bringing vegetables, but they were getting scurvy every single time. And the way to cure it was to eliminate all vegetables and eat only meat and fat. Even though meat has less vitamin C.
Yeah, the argument from the plant-based advocates that, oh, you're going to get scurvy is like, there must be a million carnivores around the world. There's got to be at least a million, right? I've interviewed thousands of them. You've interviewed many of them. Sean Baker's interviewed thousands of them, right? How many people are saying they've got scurvy? How many people are setting up their anti-carnivore YouTube channels saying, I did carnivore for 6 months and I've got scurvy and an arm growing out of my head and all this kind of thing? No one. It's another throwaway line now.
Yeah, you know what they do? They pump the only news that they get from the media, which many times gives fake news. But the only guy that is thought to have got scurvy was James Blunt, which is, I think, is a singer. He tried eating only chicken, only ground chicken. He was eating
Yum.
processed
Yum.
meat processed meat, and I don't remember really, but it was not a carnivore diet at all. It was very, very low in fat. So I've seen videos from vegans who make you understand that they are not in good faith, because they all take this article from the mainstream media who says James Blunt got scurvy, and they assume that everybody's going to get scurvy, which is completely false. Nobody gets it. Many people say, yeah, you don't have studies, but if you have a brain, a functioning brain, you see all these testimonials from people, you sum them up and you understand how things really are. I mean, how many people does it take to understand that you don't really need a study to prove the obvious? I mean, I would be happy if there were more studies on the carnivore diet, but I mean, I don't need a study to know that the sky is blue and that what I need to eat is meat. I mean, you know, Native Americans, for example, they used to cure diseases when the Western world thought they were incurable. I have read also other books from Stefansson with the Inuits, and also The Fat of the Land. Maybe you've heard about it. He used to talk about the Native Americans as well. The Native Americans, when they came in contact for the very first time with Westerners, they saw that some Westerners got some diseases, and they were the ones to cure them. They told them, oh, you have this problem on your eyes, eat the fish's eye, because it's very rich in vitamin A. But they didn't know vitamin A what it was. I mean, but they gave them the fish eye and they were cured in very short time. They were very, very wise. They used to prevent scurvy, giving people adrenal glands, the richest source of vitamin C in the whole body. So the wisdom comes with experience. We don't have wisdom anymore in our society. I think many times the old people are the first ones that have no experience of life. They don't know what's best for human beings. So we don't have anybody to learn from other than the so-called professionals.
Yeah. I mean, there used to be things that we've lost completely. You know, just when you think about even vegetables, right? When I was growing up as a kid, you always kept the potatoes in a sack in a dark cupboard. You never let them see the light, because that would make them go bad and they would start sprouting things that you didn't want and that kind of thing. No one thinks about any of this anymore. Like, we used to have all this knowledge that got passed down, and now everyone's just like, I guess it's because it's a more globalized world, and you can eat an avocado whenever you want, no matter where you are in the world, all that kind of thing. But all the knowledge about what we used to do with foods and stuff is completely gone.
Yeah, you know what else I was thinking? The way we process food as a reason. If you've read or if you've heard about Dr. Weston A. Price, in his book Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, he talks about how native people used to process vegetable food in order to make it less dangerous. So even those that were consuming some grains, for example, in Scotland, oats, for example, they were processing it very, very differently from us. So it was not really that dangerous like the food that you consume that hasn't been processed at all. I remember I was talking to my mother, for example, which you wouldn't believe is vegan. And she had this belief that you have to process everything in excess in order to eat it. But I was telling her, no. The more you process meat, the worse it becomes, because you lose more and more nutrients. Instead, with vegetables, you need to cook it more and more and more in order to lose the anti-nutrients, which are not contained in meat. So the reason why, for example, we put the beans in water for a very long time before cooking it is It's because you lose some anti-nutrients. So
Right.
I told her this is common practice even in Italy to this day, but people don't question it. People don't ask, why am I doing this? I just know that I have to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of those things, yeah, have been passed down and people don't question why. It's interesting. You talked about studies before. Everyone out there is saying, oh, well, these studies say that this cholesterol level is bad for you, and these studies say this, and these studies say that. But as you say, I'm not interested in the studies. I'm interested in what happens, what I can see in front of me. And when you see people eating this way and they all go through the same patterns, blood pressure normalizes, A1C goes down below pre-diabetic levels, they reduce weight, their brain fog clears up, all these problems go away. And when the doctor is looking at their blood tests, all they can really pick on now is cholesterol. And this is where the studies are also annoying, because it's like, well, the studies say high cholesterol is bad. Yeah, but hang on. Let's look at this group of people, all eating the same way, all having the same result, all having more energy, all feeling younger, without all these problems. Gout's gone away, arthritis has gone away, everything's gone away, but their cholesterol's high. Is it actually that our cholesterol should naturally be a bit higher? And also their triglycerides improved because their triglycerides went down. So perhaps we should be paying less attention to the studies altogether, you know? There needs to be a better way of assessing what's good for people.
The issue with the studies is that I would say 98% of them are complete garbage, because you cannot make a cause and effect statement from it. They are all observational crap.
Yeah.
Just
and
like Professor Bart Kay says all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, they call it nutrition science. It's not science, because all this science that we're doing to get the studies can't be repeated, because it's all food frequency questionnaires and epidemiology, and we can't repeat that. So I don't know how there's going to be a shake-up, but there needs to be a shake-up of academia around this.
I don't care, as you said, I don't care about the studies, but the moment a very well put study will be put out, I mean, when you will study people that eat the same way and only eat one food, like carnivores, or one kind of foods, animal products, and you can really control all the variables, then maybe I will listen to the studies. But studies cannot prove things that are false. Of course, if you conduct a study that is rigorous, it will show you the truth. I mean, this is, I think, maybe the reason why studies are not rigorous, because otherwise we would know for sure how things are. But most studies are funded by Coca-Cola, multinational companies, which have interest in keeping you guessing. Maybe this is true, or maybe this is not true. In the meanwhile, we have the study, so we have the reason to push a narrative and to push some foods which are not really foods. So I show you that fructose, for example, is good for us. It doesn't cause us, doesn't damage us. And in the meanwhile, I sell you Coca-Cola, which is full of fructose.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you remember the Tufts Food Compass from a few years ago, like a food rating system.
Ah, okay. Yes.
And it rated breakfast cereals like Cheerios and Lucky Charms. It rated those as eat a lot of these things. And on the same graph, ground beef and eggs and butter were right at the bottom, like don't eat these or only eat them sparingly. And it's like, that's very interesting. How did they come up with the science for that? Oh, hang on, look at who's funding this. All the cereal companies, so of course they're not going to say that, eggs are better for you than cereal, because, the cereal companies don't produce eggs.
Yeah, but I think it is not only about the corporative interest. I mean, there is an agenda that wants us weak and stupid. So in order to be that, you need to consume fake foods, not meat, eggs, and fish, for example. I mean, the proof that they are not in good faith, but they are in bad faith, is that there are some observational studies that show the contrary of what they say all the time, but they never show them. They never talk about them. For example, we have many studies suggesting that a high cholesterol is beneficial for human beings, that many people live longer when they have higher cholesterol, but nobody talks about it. I've seen a study done in Korea and in Japan, for example, when they saw this, but nobody talks about it. We have to talk about it, just to show that there is the counterpart that is never shown.
Yeah, it's very sad that it's got to this point, that something so important, nutrition, is so polarizing. And it's become so polarizing because money and control. That's basically it. Money and power. This is why the search for fake meats, and Bill Gates wants to make butter out of air and all this kind of thing. Right. They say it's for the environment, but it's not. It's so they can trademark the thing so they can make more money out of it, right? Because if it was for the environment, then how does the factory work? What kind of pollution is the factory creating that makes this butter out of air? It must be a lot more than a few cows, but it's just power, money, control, all those things.
Let's hope that in the future, common sense gets more common. So people stop believing this narrative and they start consuming real food is a first step, and then giving priority to animal products. But what I really care is that people always have freedom of choice. I mean, what I'm really against is that this fake food narrative gets imposed, and so we are forced to stop eating some foods when meat gets very expensive, that nobody can afford it. So that's what I really don't want to happen, so that people always have freedom of choosing what to do, because I think in the end the evidence always wins. I mean, when you will get to 2,000 interviews, 2,500 interviews, I mean, there is too much evidence. People will understand.
Right.
It is too obvious.
Definitely. Yeah. The 2,000 interviews isn't too far away. There's a lot of carnivores out there.
Yeah, we will be always more.
Yeah. And the thing about carnivores is they actually want to tell their story, you know, not because they can make any money. No one's paying them. They want to tell their story because they know what it did for them. They know how good they feel, and they just want everyone else to be able to experience the same thing.
Just out of curiosity, how many people you've interviewed that are now carnivore were vegans in the past?
Oh, a good percentage. It's at least got to be 10 or 20% at least.
Vegans, not vegetarians.
Yeah, vegans. Yeah. I had someone that was like one of the most influential vegans in Australia through like the 80s, 90s come onto my channel. She went carnivore and she's doing awesome. I find often when it's someone who used to be a vegan coming on to talk about their carnivore journey, one of the main things they talk about is in relation to their mental health, depression, things like that, because maybe it's not getting as many fats, that kind of thing, you know. It just seems to starve the brain of the necessary foods, especially if you're not supplementing enough, or the necessary nutrition, I should say.
For the brain, also cholesterol and DHA, omega-3s. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why it just seems crazy to me when you see these cardiologists on X talking about you need to get your LDL below 50. And it's like, what? 50? Like, it's not going to be long before they reduce it so much. It's like, you got to get it to 0. Yeah.
Which would mean death.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, thank you so much for your time for this interview. I'm honored. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I will put your channel in the description, of course.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, Roberto. It's really good to talk from the other side of the other side of the desk. Yeah.
Yeah, it is incredible. I love technology. I love the fact that I can talk to a person that is in Japan while I'm in Italy. We have different time zones. It is wonderful. Well, I look forward to talk to you again in the future. I hope so.
Thank you so much. And look, Roberto, I think it's really important what you're doing, putting more voices out there to just widen the net and allow more people to come in and give carnivore a try, because it's really important. And I would say to anyone out there who's thinking of doing carnivore, just give it a try for 90 days. Do your best for that 90 days. And if you make a mistake, you ended up eating that bag of chips or whatever it is, don't beat yourself up over it. Just get started again. Just get back straight back on the wagon. Don't worry about it. Just keep trying, because the more you try and do it, the easier it'll be. And once you get 90 days in, there's no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much again. See you next time.
Cheers.